the worst rebrand of all time, Cracker Barrel, by the Fat Files. And oh boy, I am so glad that he covered it. I have been watching from the sidelines. Moist Critical made a couple videos. His video criticizing it and saying this is one of the dumbest things he's ever seen. Like, no, I'm hardcore with that. Like, this whole thing has been a giant point and laugh session for me because it's so bad. It's so bad, and I need to see what he says. I need to see this.
I normally don't do current event dog pile type content, but nobody seems to be pointing out what is incredibly obvious to me, that this company might be pulling off the greatest marketing stunt in the past decade.
Okay.
Today we're talking about Cracker Barrel. If you don't know, they rebranded recently and absolutely everybody hates it. This is not a political war thing where the left likes it and the right doesn't, or the right likes it and the left doesn't. No, everybody across the political spectrum has come out and said, we absolutely hate what you've done with this.
Like, yeah, 100%. So let's use Target, because Target's going to be the big one that comes to mind, right? Target, and we're going to cover this from a very grounded, in the middle perspective, right? As where I do most of my work, right? So Target decides, hey, we're going to be more inclusive. We're gonna support our LGBTQIA plus audience. We're going to make sure to be an ally, right? So a bunch of people say, well, that's dumb, and then they leave Target. But now Target is backtracking, right? Or at the very least, that's what I've heard. And here's the thing, is that if you're disingenuous, if you do it for, the funny haha social media thing, like, performative support, performative allyship, then you lose the entirety of the LGBTQI plus community. So Target's an example of what he just said, right? Where you'll have one side who looks at a decision, absolutely hates it, and then they back out. But then they're like, well, wait, we want you guys back. And then clearly their support was performative. So then the other side backs out, and then neither side wants to return. That's how you kill your business. Look at Target as a cautionary tale, and obviously insert other business here. Look, whatever your personal politics are, I don't care. I really don't. Identify as whatever. Be an AC-130. Who cares, right? Just don't be weird, okay? That goes for everybody. Let's be adults. Let's make sure to have proper conversations and all that fun stuff. I will say, however, I do agree with this. Everyone unilaterally hated this decision. As somebody who has known people who may or may not have, cannot confirm or deny, worked at Cracker Barrel, yeah, this is bad. Like, this is awful.
Look how they massacred my boy.
It genuinely might be the most unifying thing that has happened to the United States of America since 9/11, okay? Do you know how bad you gotta fuck up to, in 2025, get Donald Trump and Gavin Newsom on the same page? The official DNC Twitter account even said, we think the new Cracker Barrel branding sucks too. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm gonna rephrase it a little bit differently so we're all on the same page. Cracker Barrel, aka a restaurant unironically and literally named Cracker Barrel, that has been accused of LGBTQ discrimination and racial discrimination, and when you walk inside is decorated as though it's Minnie's haberdashery from the Quentin Tarantino movie The Hateful Eight, has rebranded and remodeled some of the restaurants, and they fucked it up so bad that even the woke leftists are like, no, the segregated bus stop vibes were better, bring it back. They've literally done...
This one is oddly political, but I totally get where he's coming from, though. At the end of the day, come to your own conclusions.
Such a bad job that it almost feels like it's intentional, and I think it might be, and we're gonna get into it right after a word from our sponsor. This video...
Before we get into the sponsorship, I have a theory that this might be Glass Cliff phenomenon adjacent. Now, I'm not an expert in Glass Cliff phenomenon. I'm not an expert in sociology, economics, etc. I'm just a dingus on the internet that sometimes has interesting opinions. So, the TLDR of what I understand of Glass Cliff phenomenon is making Anne Woman in charge and then setting her up to fail, because then you can go, well, we let Anne Woman be in charge. Maybe we should go back to a man being in charge. And that's a bare bones as I understand it. Please, if you have knowledge or expertise in studying Glass Cliff phenomenon, please definitely comment it down below and I will make sure to pin that. So, what I understand is currently Cracker Barrel has a female CEO. And once again, this is a shareholder investor thing. Like, the CEO can do whatever technically, right? But generally, you want to make sure that your constituents, your shareholders, investors, right? Stockholders, you want to make sure that you're playing nice with them. So why are we once again not talking about accountability and responsibility and naming shareholders and investors who wanted this decision, right? I think that'd be a pretty fair place to start. I feel that this is a situation in which this is setting the CEO up to fail. That being said, this is all conjecture. This is wild speculation and should be taken with multiple shakers of salt.
It's brought to you by Supremacy World War III. It is a free online PvP strategy-based game where you get to act out a military in modern day. You can pick a country, or you can play the US battleground, and you can pick your favorite state, which is my favorite way to play, and obviously I'm gonna pick Iowa every single time. I like to mix it up by attacking a different state every time. Sometimes I like to attack cold California, Minnesota. Sometimes I like to attack Nebraska and show them whose corn is better, but this time I'm probably gonna go ahead and attack Wisconsin because let's face it, they don't stand a chance unless it's a drinking competition.
One, we're not babies. And two, we're not that drunk.
But it gets better because right now for Season 18, they have the Cataclysmic Mutation, which, you know, the only thing that can make World War III more entertaining is the introduction of zombies. So if you want to give it a try, it's free on both PC and mobile, and when you use my link and discount code down below, you're going to unlock an elite bomber that appears to be based off the B1, the bone. See what they did there? B1, bone, get it? Anyways, go ahead and check out the game. Let's get back to the video.
So I'd give it an 8. I thought it was great. It was about a minute. Yeah, so it was about a minute. It felt longer than a minute. He did have accentuations. Audio was consistent, right? Very personable. I would probably bump it up to a 9 if he personally played it. I didn't catch if he did or not, if I'm being honest. Lack of banner is actually a little shocking to me because he usually has banners like delete me and stuff. QR code is appreciated. I'd give it an 8. With potential to be a 9. As Tamsin clarifies, one of the largest investors warned her 4 times, including a 120-minute presentation on why this rebrand would be a bad idea. So, on understanding that that is actually the case, that factually happened, right? On understanding that this is a thing, that is a CEO exercising their CEO powers to say, we're going to do this is the direction the company's going on, but failing to adhere and take care of their constituents, which could be grounds for CEO removal. So this has got to be rage bait marketing, right? This has got to be capitalizing on everyone and their brother getting a more simplified dog water logo, because they backtracked really quick. A new video by Most Critical came out the day we're reacting to this today, right? The day this came out, and they've already 180'd it, which tells me that it could go a couple of ways, and I'll probably talk about that a little later.
All right, Cracker Barrel, we're going to start off with a little history, how the company came to be. Why? Because you got to understand where the company comes from to understand where it's going or where it should be going, right? Makes sense. So, Cracker Barrel was started by a guy by the name of Dan Evans. Dan Evans was a Marine that joined after World War II, went, fought in Korea, came back home, worked a couple of different jobs, and then went to work in his family's oil company, going to gas stations, basically being a salesman for gas to small gas stations. Now, during the same time period, in the couple of decades after World War II, America was building and finishing its interstate highway system. Basically, America saw Germany's Autobahn in World War II and was like, oh, that's a good idea. We're going to win this war and then steal that idea, which is exactly what we did. Now, the problem at the time, or at least for Rob Evans, was this meant that people were going to be using these massive interstates to just cut right through the land, and they weren't going to be taking all the small highways that everybody used before, and this put a lot of smaller gas stations out of business. Rather than just slowly decline and go out of business and fade into nothing, Rob Evans said, okay, we've got this new thing. It's kind of cool. Massive highway, goes really fast. People are traveling further, faster. That's great, but it does have some shortcomings. These massive interstates don't cut right through the middle of towns like these highways did. And people that are traveling for hours on end are still going to need gas. They're still going to need food. And a lot of them are still probably going to want to pick up knickknacks and souvenirs to say, hey, I was in this place, like a shot glass or a magnet or whatever the fuck.
No, Dad, not that, please.
Souvenirs still true.
So that's what he built. He built the first Cracker Barrel. It was a gas station / restaurant / souvenir store, and he slapped it right on the interstate in Lebanon, Tennessee in 1969. And to nobody's surprise, it was outrageously popular. It was the one-stop shop concept. You're driving down the road for 6 hours straight. You've got 4 more hours to go. Oh, look, there's one spot I can stop. I can get gas, dinner, and a souvenir. Perfect. Then I'm going to get back on the road.
So a danger with this that I could potentially see is the Hastings phenomenon, where, for those of you that don't remember Hastings, it was like, how do I word it? It was like bookstore, I think like a Barnes and Nobles, right? But it turned into like, because they sold like DVDs, it could sell stuff to them, for nerfed rate, right? Like you could go say, hi, I have, the Golden Compass trilogy, and I wish to trade this in, and they'll give you a value for it, right? Like, think like a mix between... How do I even word that? I'm trying to figure out. Someone's going to be able to word it far better than I can. Anyways, think like bookstore and media store. And then they ran into the issue where they over-diversified. And by the time, like, Hastings was closing, like, they had so much stuff sitting, a bunch of just, like, weed merch, beer funnels. Like, they hyper over-diversified what they were selling. And from a basic business concept, like, you want to make sure product is selling, because product that has to sit there actively eats up money because you're not selling it, so it's not making you money. You've already purchased it, and it's taking up the spot of something else that, like, could be there and you could be selling there. So, because going to ye old Cracker Barrel, right? I've been a couple times. I'm not a fan of their whole campfire thing, the tinfoil whatevers. Their burgers are oddly good, though. I actually really like their burgers. Apples, they're pretty good. Anyways, that's beside the point. But like the knick-knack gift shop in the front, like, stuff moves and I know it moves, but I worry that might be a business fallacy to fall into if you happen to over diversify. So like if you diversify outside of, commemorative shot glasses, name tags, etc., right? And you start selling like, hyper niche, like $600 plus giant stuffed animals, right? Not that I don't think they do that, right? But you get where I'm coming from.
Their concept kind of felt like a general store back in the Old West. Like, it doesn't matter what you're looking for, you have to go to the only store in town to get it, and if they don't have it, they'll order it. So that's what he kind of themed it after. He themed it after an Old Western general store, and because of that, he decided to name it Cracker Barrel, because back in the Old West, the general stores had barrels that were full of crackers.
Nice. What's the restaurant? Is it Claim Jumpers? Where it's commonplace to, like, throw, like, peanuts on the ground or something? I vaguely remember this. I know my parents took me a couple times, but I haven't been in a hot minute. But that's like, part of the aesthetic. That's part of the thing, is, like, peanut shells and stuff are just on the ground. Like, that's part of the aesthetic.
Don't do that. Why are you winking at me?
From here, the business grew like wildfire, but
Roadhouse.
the interstates were becoming, more and more of a thing. Gas stations were popping up. People were copying the same strategy. So he's like, gas isn't really making us that much money. We're going to drop the gas portion, and we're just going to be a restaurant with this souvenir shop in it, but we're still going to be right on the interstate. And that is how we arrived at the Cracker Barrel that we all know today. It is a Western general store themed restaurant that serves Southern food and has a gift shop up front that is actually secretly evil, but genius at the same time.
Look, at the end of the day, that's why I go to Cracker Barrel, right? I want ye oldie boomer experience, okay? Cracker Barrel, as the Russian Badger video states, is the Firelink shrine for white people. That's why we go to Cracker Barrel. Give me a good old American burger, my dude. Like, that's why we go there.
Little knick-knack shop up front is responsible for 20% of Cracker Barrel's overall revenue, and they made like $3.5 billion last year, meaning they're moving like $700 million worth of knickknacks every single year. I know what you're thinking, how is that even possible? Because if you have a family and you go to Cracker Barrel, that gift shop is like a family-friendly version of the Saw movie.
What do you want? Awake. What?
You are completely surrounded by armed mousetraps.
My God!
There's a 15-minute wait at the restaurant. You now must stand inside of an old-timey toy store for 15 minutes with your small children and not be compelled to buy them a harmonica and a cap gun. Mission fucking impossible, okay? Sorry, I'm trauma dumping. Anyways, now we're in modern times. In 2023, they got a new CEO, Julie Messino. Okay, now the CEO that she replaced was more or less shit-canned very politely. They didn't fire her, they accelerated her retirement plan. Okay, whatever, that's fine. They have a new CEO, this Julie Messino person. Is she an inside hire from the company that understands the culture and what makes the company successful? No, of course she isn't. We're gonna bring in somebody else that's an industry expert, and they're gonna know how to fix everything.
I actively rolled my eyes as soon as he said industry expert. It's always... What, last I checked, in jobs that I've worked, and many of us work, right? Especially in, undesirable jobs, whether it be hard labor, construction, service sector, right? None of us get any sort of, like, severance package, golden parachute. Well, but this is rich people work. Bro, the amount of time CEOs have the collective intelligence of a bag of rocks it mind blows me. Look, I have a rate, okay? If company approached me is like, hey, Kip, we'd like to have you as our CEO, right? Sure, I got my rate. I have my rate of like, yeah, I would step away from YouTube to do it. It's not going to happen, right? Because I think that ends up being more connections based, right? Like, I also don't have a business degree, which they'd be looking at some form of probably master's, if not PhD business degree, right? So, right, hashtag would never happen, right? Yeah, no, I have a rate that I'd become a CEO and do something, but like, it just won't happen. But I think that's also a commentary on nepotism and buzzword marketing / buzzword job search ? Like, we want to hire you because you're a quote unquote industry expert, or we want to hire you because someone knows you. You may have less qualifications than someone else, but I don't know. That's interesting. That's interesting to think about. As a former tech support worker, I've had entrepreneurs who didn't know how to use a magic mouse. They've been using it upside down for months. I'll never trust experts. Like, here's the thing, right? And this is, I level with everybody during reactions, right? I'm not an expert, right? Like, I had to stop firearms content very specifically because it makes me a mean person, right? I have a zero tolerance for that. Now, obviously, I can spin this into a positive. Smith & Wesson 500 range day video at some point once I can bully someone into helping me film that. But, you know, I always say that I don't have a lot of this expertise. I always say that, you know, I'm not an expert in this. I don't have a bachelor's in business. I can look at things and go, okay, that's kind of common sense that you want to make sure in the storefront that you're selling things that would, you know, be pretty low overhead. Maybe you have vertical integration to get your cap guns, dogs with glasses, American flags, etc. Maybe make sure the American flags don't say quote unquote made in China, right? Because that would also appeal to the target demographic of Craft Grill, right? Like, we can talk about things like this that are pretty common sense that I feel industry experts don't. Like, they look at people like statistics rather than people, and I think that's a core failing of many businesses, and why businesses that the Fat Electrician has discussed prior, like Arizona, right, why they succeed.
Which never, ever works. But you know what? Maybe she's the exception. Okay, what's her background? Oh, she was the head of marketing at Starbucks.
Oh,
not looking great, okay?
No.
You know what company doesn't need marketing? Starbucks. Have you ever seen a Starbucks commercial? Yeah, me neither. You ever seen a Starbucks ad? No, not really.
I've seen a lot of Starbucks banners, actually. I just don't go because I've had their lemonade. I would much rather go to Dutch Bros or something on the odd chance that I do go to a coffee place. Like, I also am of the opinion that if large businesses, large recognizable businesses like Starbucks, Amazon, Walmart, etc., if they're engaging in advertisement, it feels like money laundering and or a tax write-off thing.
Starbucks' business model is they're fucking everywhere, and do you want caffeine or not? The end. Being in charge of the head of marketing at Starbucks is like being in charge of selling ass candles to dogs. You can't fuck that job up. On top of that, Starbucks isn't even really trying to sell coffee. They're trying to sell gift cards so they can continue being the world's biggest unregulated bank, which I did an entire video on. We're not going to get into it. After that,
yes, he did. Go watch that video. Wink, wink.
she was the president of Taco Bell. Okay, that sounds like it could be pretty good, but I promise you, it's not. Okay, Taco Bell is owned by Yum Brands, and Yum Brands is a conglomerate that owns KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut, and that conglomerate is owned by Pepsi. Why does Pepsi own fast food restaurants? Well, because in the 1970s and the 1980s, when Pepsi was trying to become a major household name, they could not compete with Coke because every restaurant in America had Coke machines, and nobody wanted fucking Pepsi. So
hear me out. Are you ready for this business pitch? The Fat Electrician, he does a business consultation, right? You know, not that he's going to put on a suit, right? And, you know, sit down and go over investment numbers and stuff like that. I'm sure he could, but hear me out, right? Fat Electrician, business consulting, you pay him a flat rate. Well, it could be a fat rate. You pay him a flat rate, and you present your business idea to him, and he tells you if it's stupid or not. Dude, he could make a living. Dude, he could make a killing doing that.
He went and bought 3 major food chains to force them to have Pepsi inside of the restaurant so they could force feed it to people and convince them that Pepsi was better. Pepsi literally said, we have no reputation and no customer base. We're going to buy 3 entities that have a massive following, and we're going to use that to force feed our product into people.
Put it in your mouth and just eat it.
God, I hate it.
I don't care whether you hate it. You said you do it.
Which means, ultimately, at the end of the day, all they care about is the restaurants breaking even, Maybe. They don't give a shit if the restaurants do good. They just want to sell more Pepsi. If so facto, all of her experience at being an industry expert is by working at a company that's fucking up to something other than selling good food to people, right? Starbucks is trying to be an unregulated bank, and Yum Brands is trying to force feed people Pepsi. There's an ulterior motive. They don't really care how the company does. But Cracker Barrel doesn't have that. The only thing they're up to is strong-arming me into buying a harmonica for my 4-year-old so that I slowly go insane. So she comes in 2003 and is like, you know what we need to do to fix everything with this company that's been functioning just fine for the past fucking 50 years? We should absolutely change everything. We'll do exactly the same thing we did with Taco Bell. We'll take a logo that's awesome and retro and cool, and then we'll make a minimalist version with less colors that everybody fucking hates.
Dude, I hate it so much, dude. I remember the older logo even from that, right? Wasn't it a vertical bell before that? Dude, I don't know, man. So I was watching, unironically, a video about how the job market is pretty dog water. You know, people tag teaming it like roommate style to do like 1,000 applications in like 2 days, right? Like, dog market's pretty water. But why do we still have quote unquote market experts that seemingly just always have jobs? I feel like I'm missing something here. Is this like a nepotism thing? Is this some sort of capitalism thing that I'm too boomer to understand? Wait, that doesn't even work. I was trying to do a meme, but it didn't really work. I don't know, dude. I'm a boomer. I don't understand this stuff. Like, can you do the job? Yes, no. Do you have the qualifications? Yes, no. If you don't have the qualifications, are you able to learn this in a relevant time frame? Yes, no, right? Someone hires you, you don't know how to work Microsoft Word or Excel, but you pick it up in like 2 days by watching YouTube videos, right? Grats, you've done it. You've solved the issue, right? But it's like, someone hires you to use Microsoft Word, and you're like, well, but I use like insert whatever alternative here, and it's like, okay, but we use Word here, and none of like the commands are the same. I don't know, dude. It's strange to me that like people in general are having a hard time finding jobs and even keeping jobs with mass layoffs, but market experts seem to consistently be employed. That one's weird to me.
Because every time somebody looks at a logo of a multi-billion-dollar company, they want to look at it and say to themselves in the back of their head, I wonder how much the graphic designer got paid, because I could have done that shit on Microsoft Paint. And then we'll go inside to the restaurants, we'll strip all the cool shit off the walls, we'll paint everything white like it's a rental property, and then put half of the cool shit back up with little plaques that tell you what it is, so it looks like a museum exhibit. You know, the same exact thing that we did to Taco Bell. Look what they did to my childhood.
I loved when Taco Bell looked like a Dixie cup.
Taco Bell used to be beautiful inside and out. It was absolutely fantastic. And now look at it. It's just a giant square blob of minimalist millennial gray bullshit. Modern
Now I want Taco Bell.
Taco Bells look like they got designed by a middle-aged white woman wearing Ugg boots who got all of her ideas off of Pinterest. I'm legitimately surprised they haven't changed their slogan from think outside the bun to something stupid like live, laugh, love. Oh wait, fuck, they did that in 2012 because when you go to Taco Bell, you're supposed to live Moss now. I hate it. Oh, I hate it.
I don't even know what that means.
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
No, it's not. It
gets the people going.
So, is Cracker Barrel gonna go downhill? Almost certainly. As soon as they announced this remodel and their rebranding, they lost 12% of their market share. $94 million just fucking erased from existence.
So I can't imagine doing that. Like, obviously, if it's like a regulation thing, right? Like, well, our company is now regulated to disclose certain components of the manufacturing process or something like that, right? Like being forced to because other companies weren't doing super legit things, right? And like now people are like, oh well, why does this contain this? And you know what? Or I don't know, something comes out regulation wise, people lose money. That makes sense. I can't imagine cratering your own business that hard. Like, imagine if I just became like Hassan Piker tomorrow, right? And I just started talking about like insert political ideology here, and that's everything that I did, right? Like, who would watch that? No one. That's the point, right? Like, I would be like, oh, I have to pursue this modern streamer creator thing and engage in rage baiting and make sure that I'm attacking anybody who says that, you know, that I'm wrong and incorrect and right. It's just like, well, but why? Why would I do that? That doesn't seem worth it to me.
And so far, the only response that Cracker Barrel has given out to enormous public backlash is to send the CEO onto the news to talk to Michael Strahan, an ex-NFL player that retired when I was in like 8th grade, but somehow still looks way younger than me. And she goes up there and has the balls or the ovaries, whatever, to look everybody in the face and gaslight us and be like, actually, people love the new design, despite the fact that nobody does.
Honestly.
Yep. Didn't she go on record, or someone went on record quite literally saying that it's a vocal minority, that the thing we hear all the time from big businesses, the same tactic?
The feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing. I'll give you another soundbite. The number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members.
So hear me out. See, this is why I hate when companies backtrack stuff, because like I said, they did backtrack it. One of the reasonings for that is that the backlash was so insane that they are forced to walk it back despite doubling down. At that point, are they backing down because they realize it doesn't really make a whole lot of business sense for the identity of Cracker Barrel? Or are they backing down because they got backlash, lost 12% of their stock price, right? And you know, it's the concept of, is the YouTuber sorry because he's sorry or because he got caught doing the thing? Is the banker guilty of fraud sorry because he ruined the lives of entire families, or is he sorry because he got caught doing fraud, right?
It's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
So I'm 90% sure that Cracker Barrel, as we know it now, is gonna die off in the next 5 years. But there's a 10% chance that this is the most brilliant marketing stunt of all time. Okay.
He is correct. We talked about this earlier with the thing. However, we do have to also consider, what is it, Occam's razor? Sometimes the simplest solution or the simplest answer is usually the answer. Not necessarily a set in stone rule, but it could be Occam's razor. They thought that modernizing it for a modern audience would be the actual play here, and they went ahead with it anyways. They could just, you know, backtrack it, don't do this again, and then be like, well, we're just gonna use this as tax write-off. But now they've already done this. Remember, years ago, right? GM, right? Heated seats became a subscription, and now we're having more and more. We have, was it Ford that was talking about a patent for cars or trucks that could self-drive themselves to a repo dealership if you miss your payment? I literally heard about this yesterday just watching finance videos, because my actual life is boring. I watch finance videos and statistics videos for fun. But like, yeah, something about like, if you're behind on payments, they'll just like, you know, disable the AC or make sure the radio just plays really uncomfortable sounds, right? Forcing you to kind of pay if you're behind on payments. And then if you just refuse, yeah, the truck/car will just drive itself, right? Self-driving feature to a repo lot. And it's like, bro, how dystopian is this, right? Like that is so dystopian, it's not even funny. Now, a fix for this, especially when repo, you know, employees, right, having to repossess vehicles, because no one wants to go and get, you know, a 12 gauge pointed at them. The person who didn't pay the truck payment is in the wrong, right? But the repo person trying to take the car on behalf of whoever is owed the money is still getting threatened, right? Obviously, at that point, then you need to assess law enforcement, you need to work on other things, but like, I feel that self-driving car and slight torture by turning off your AC, disabling it, and playing just awful noises on the radio, I feel that that's a little too far dystopian.
Hey, hear me out. They've lost $94 million, sure, but that's all stock price bullshit, right? That's not real. It's not a realized loss yet, okay? It's all on paper. It's imaginary. It doesn't exist.
Never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not fucking real.
In exchange for that $94 million imaginary dollar loss, they've gained hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of free publicity. When's the last time you heard about Cracker Barrel in the news?
I've heard a lot of actually unironic, but it's also because I'm in Idaho.
Fucking never. Cracker Barrel is the talk of the town right now.
Before we get into the bub bit, sorry, I was trying to gauge that. Tamsin offered clarification in chat. Since Fat Electrician filmed this, it came out that Cracker Barrel lost about $140 million in market value on the rebrand, for which they hired 3 design firms, cost around $700 million. That logo cost $700 million. mate, I will pick up open Canva, like PowerPoint. I can make that in PowerPoint tomorrow if I can make 700 million on that. That is disgusting.
Buh, but it's all negative publicity. Buh. Yeah, sure. But haven't you ever heard the phrase, there's no such thing as bad publicity?
I hate that, dude. I hate that. It's so true, though. It's why you hear constantly about Hassan Piker, insert, problematic YouTuber and or streamer here. It's why you hear so much about Kick. I can't engage in that. But it's true. Metrics are metrics. It doesn't care if they're positive, negative, or neutral, right? Engagement is engagement. You could tell me that I'm a cotton-headed nitty-muggin in the comments section down below, right? Sure, it still counts as engagement and metrics. Might not be the most positive, but point being.
Okay, they've done such a shitty job, it's almost perfectly shitty, okay? This isn't a catastrophe. There's a 10% chance that this is a controlled demolition on purpose, okay? Because here's the kicker. All the news articles are like, Cracker Barrel remodeled. Cool. They don't actually tell you that all Cracker Barrels didn't remodel. Only 30 of the 660 Cracker Barrels got a remodel. And if Cracker Barrel is smart, especially if they did this on purpose, they remodeled the 30 shittiest performing Cracker Barrels that they had that they were probably gonna have to close down anyways.
So I would offer a counterpoint that especially if stores are run on franchise, I don't actually know how Cracker Barrel runs it. And people who do work in franchise locations, whether you're a manager, whether you're, an worker just working there, right? If you are a low performing franchise store, generally you will not get fixed up and you will get passed over for certain opportunities from what I understood. If you're a high performing franchise store, then you will get things like the remodels. Then you will get certain things like updated menu items or so that runs counter to what I understand, but that could be dependent on the franchise and dependent on the company itself.
So now they're out $94 million on paper and whatever it costs to remodel 30 Cracker Barrels. $10 million, okay? They're out $105 million, 10 of which is real, 94 of which is on paper. In exchange, they've gotten, $500 million in free publicity, and now in the other 630 Cracker Barrels all over the country, people are gonna go, oh shit, that Cracker Barrel hasn't been remodeled yet. We should eat there one last time because this is our last chance before they remodel it. All of a sudden, Cracker Barrel has the best year they've ever had.
So hear me out. He's onto something. Do you want to know why? So we have a restaurant, or had a restaurant. I don't know if it's just Pacific Northwest or not, called Sherry's. Think like a Denny's, but slightly more expensive. The burger I had last night, the double burger was like $17, so it's a little bit more expensive than Denny's, yeah. So most of the Sherry's, to my understanding, have closed. If I understand it correctly, I think all of the Sherry's in Oregon have closed. I was down near Boise last night because I went fishing. I went to Swan Falls Dam, right? So I was in the Boise-ish area. And when you're on the freeway and you're heading east, because I was heading east at the time, if you get off at the Meridian exit, the downtown Meridian exit, there's still a Sherry's there. And I looked at it and I had to blink twice because I still saw the open sign. I walked in. The people were still there, and I'm like, you know what? I thought these were closed. I'm going to eat there. On that understanding alone, that I was under the impression that all of the Sherry's restaurants had closed, and then I saw one that was still open, and decided to go and eat at the Sherry's restaurant, and, the burger was like $17.99 for a double cheddar burger, right? Right there, that proves what the Fat Electrician is saying about people going, oh, this one isn't remodeled yet. Let's go eat here one last time.
Clever girl.
All of a sudden, Cracker Barrel's stock price goes through the roof. Now they're not losing money on paper. They're probably making money on paper, and they've probably made enough to offset the amount they spent remodeling the 30 locations that they were going to close anyways. They close those 30 stores down, and they carry on with business as usual. They change the logo back. They issue some corporate apology like, we've heard your voice, and we respect and value your opinion, and that's why we've decided to bring the old white guy back onto the logo. He's not going to go to the Island of Misfit Toys with Aunt Jemima and the Indian girl from the Land of Lakes logo and Uncle Ben. No, he's gonna stay on the restaurant where he belongs.
You're goddamn right.
And we're not going to remodel any more of the restaurants. Fucking America. The end. Okay, and I know what you're thinking. That seems like an awful lot to go through just to have one good year of sales. And I would agree with you, okay? But here is the reason that I'm giving this a 10% possibility. There was never an issue with Cracker Barrel's decor, okay? Nobody went in there and was ever complaining like, oh shit, this Cracker Barrel looks like a fucking Cracker Barrel, okay? You know what you're getting into when you go to Cracker Barrel. Nobody's complaining. If you go back to before this PR nightmare hit the internet, all of the complaints about Cracker Barrel were about the food quality, menu changes, and bad service, okay? Cracker Barrel didn't just remodel 30 locations, they also revitalized the menu across all 660 Cracker Barrels, including bringing back old favorites like Uncle Herschel's favorite. So presumably they fixed the actual issues that Cracker Barrel had, but the problem is with the restaurant, once you go there 2 or 3 times and you don't have a good meal, you're probably just never gonna go there again. So they needed to come up with a way to convince people to come back to Cracker Barrel one last time, to give them one last chance, to give them a good experience, and they could have staged this entire PR nightmare on purpose to do just that. And the added kicker, they get to spin the entire thing like, hey, we're the one company that listens to you guys. We're the one company that didn't sacrifice their legendary, well-known mascot and take him off the brand forever. No, we brought him back because you guys wanted him. We kept the restaurant the same because that's what you guys wanted. Cracker Barrel is an American institution, and we listen to you guys and we give you what you want, and then everybody loves Cracker Barrel and their new awesome menu. But like I said, I don't think they're that smart. I give it a 10% chance that that's actually what's happening, and there's a 90% chance that Cracker Barrel is just circling the drain and will be gone in 5 years. So there's that. Thanks for watching.
Oh.
All right, emergency update. Never really had to do this before, and like I said, that's probably because I don't like covering emerging trendy topics, but I guess here we are. Everything you've seen up until this point was filmed on the 24th, and it is now the 26th at approximately 7 o'clock Central Time, and I've just been informed via Twitter or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that Cracker Barrel has issued their corporate apology, and they're going to be keeping their original logo. Because of this, I will now be updating my prediction. There is no longer a 10% chance that this is an intentional marketing ploy. There is now a 50-50 chance that this is intentional, they're doing it on purpose, and if they are, it's absolutely genius, and if they're not, it's the worst idea I've ever seen in my entire life. Anyways, thanks for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out.
I thoroughly disagree with it as a business practice, if I'm being honest.
If I'm right about this, I will, for the rest of my life, claim that somebody at Cracker Barrel headquarters saw my video, stole my idea, and saved the company forever. Probably not the truth, but that's what I'm gonna roll with.
Words. It's because they doubled down on it. They did the.
Don't forget to go check out World War III Supremacy. Use my link and code down below to unlock all the free stuff. Thanks for watching.
I don't know. I don't trust it, if I'm being honest. I'm a little different when it comes to business. If I actually end up not enjoying something, like, I play a game, go to a business, etc., and I am inconvenienced to a reasonable point that I dislike the business, I just won't engage with it. And that's not how business is done anymore, right? Think about a game, whether that's Destiny 2, Helldivers, etc., right? Or think about a restaurant you've gone to where it's like, you used to get amazing food, now the menu's changed, and every time you go, you just feel like you spent a little too much for what you got, and they used to be a lot better, right? Like, and then, you run into an issue, and then, 3 months down the line, you're playing that game again, or you're going to that restaurant again because you have nostalgia for how the food used to be, right? So I disagree with the business practice on principle because it is actively disrespecting their fan base. It is actively disrespecting the company's constituents, right? For all intents and purposes. Who keeps companies in business? Who keeps YouTubers and streamers in business? The people watching them, the people supporting them, the people who they are providing a product for. So, yeah, any publicity is good publicity until you burn through your goodwill. We've had the Path of Exile dev team during Path of Exile 1 before 2 came out, right? Talking about how goodwill is a currency. And, sometimes you need to burn that goodwill a little bit to, for something to happen, or maybe you're trying something new. But, eventually you will just run out of goodwill. A la Activision Blizzard, Riot Games, especially after the weird League of Legends AI garbage, whatever that was. Oh, that was awful. I don't know. Because of how quickly they backtracked, this tells me either the backlash was way too intense. This was planned from the get-go. I don't know. Like I'm mixed on it if I'm being honest, right? But I, as somebody who has notoriously said I will not go back to Helldivers, I will not go back to Ready or Not for various reasons, right? And then people go, well, we have this issue with this, 2 rounds of nerfs, and then suddenly they're like, oh, go play Helldivers again. Like, bro, at the end of the day, people need to practice what they preach. If you don't want to support something, don't support it, right? And if Cracker Barrel wants to engage in this marketing, I'm not going to support it, right? Especially if this is going to be seen as a calculated endeavor, right? This is a calculated, controlled demolition to get publicity, right? I'm not about that. I won't. I'm not going to engage with that. This is just a continuation of modern business trends with market experts. And at the very least, I feel Cracker Barrel has burned goodwill with me, if I'm being honest. They have burnt goodwill on me if they are engaging in this as a sort of psyop. They've also burned goodwill because they felt that this was relevant to double down on and then immediately 180. If they gave it a week, sure, okay, they've had time to really think about this, right? But clearly, a business of this size has no problems just 180 on a decision. And it's not like they can just refund all the money spent, right? So hypothetically, let's say in 2 to 4 years, much like, GM, we said earlier, started with subscription heated seats, and now we're, dealing with more and more subscription for cars, right? When are we going to see a reintroduction of these ideas? If we'll see a reintroduction of these ideas in 2 to 4 years. And that's really sad to think about. So I think I'll take my business elsewhere personally. If nothing else, for Cracker Barrel's own decisions. Fat Electrician is not affecting my opinion in any way, shape, or form with this. Provide a good product. I will consume product if you provide a good product. If you're going to engage in hyper buzzword marketing, nah, thanks. I'm pretty good there. But thank you everyone for watching. Really do appreciate it. Thank you, Fat Electrician, for an amazing video. I actually really love his Fat File videos. I definitely yap a lot on these, so thank you for bearing with me.